Just as the difference between that first half and how dominant you guys were able to be, and then the run that Denver was able to make in that second half?
Couple things. I think, offensively, the ball stopped moving on the same level that it did in the first half. And a lot of that was, Denver's aggressiveness defensively, I thought really picked up in the second half. I mean, when you got a team down, that's, you need to anticipate that. And then I think, defensively, we let one end of the court we just need more determination on the defensive end to give up. They're the best offensive team in the league, but that said, giving up 40 in the third and the fourth, it's going to be awful tough to win that way. I thought we responded at one point, which was good to see, but our focus on the defensive end, and they missed some shots in the first half, no question, and they're going to make some, but we didn't fight them as much as we needed to defensively. Didn't execute.
What can you take into tomorrow's game?
Well, this is, the thing about this league. This one hurts, and they all hurt. But given the way it happened, and you feel that, and I think it needs to be affirming for us that when we play the way that we want to play, get out and run and guard. That we're a pretty good team, and when we don't, it can go the other direction on us. So I think that swing for us is a big one. We have to be that determined, and then, but to your question specifically, you feel this one and some things that we, I think know intuitively that we can do better, and then you got to get ready for tomorrow night. We got to get on a plane and get to Washington, and we know how we played there last time and how they played, and got to be ready to go.
Coach, Porzingis came off the bench for the second time in his career and had one of his better games of the season. Is that something we could see more of moving forward, or was that just due to his absence?
Yeah, with our team, with JJ and O and Porzingis, we've got guys that can play in combination, in those situations. And, as I've said before, I think those things are fluid for us. The injuries have dictated a lot of our lineups and matchups, and we'll just keep evaluating that and do what we think is the best thing for the team. And I've said before, I think one of the good things about this group is it's a really selfless group, and those guys play for each other. No, I think it's harder to run when they're scoring. You can continue to attack it and push it, but when you're taking them out of the net, it's just different than if you're getting a rebound. And then the foul line makes it virtually impossible to do that. So our defense has to, those two things go together, and that's the way this game works. So I didn't think we, suddenly stopped running. We just didn't have the same opportunities because we weren't getting stops.
On that final offensive possession, it seemed like you obviously went with guys who could, hit the three. What were you looking for in that moment?
Yeah, those possessions are always really physical, and I thought we did a good job of, executing through their physicality, and we had time, so. A couple guys looked like they might have a look and got off it, and we got in the lane, and those are always, you always can look at those situations and talk about what you could do better. I think the important thing for us is to understand what we didn't do offensively up to that point as well, which I think I didn't think we played with the pass as much as we need to generate the same looks that we did in the first half.
It's obviously hard to find the positives in a game that you lose like this, but with Jalen's performance, and especially just him coming back and being the first Hawks player to have a triple-double in the first half of the game, what can you say about his impact?
Well, we feed off him, and I've talked before about his playmaking and his impact on the game and a multitude of levels, and that's what that stat line represents. So he's obviously hugely important to what we do. Being able to get in the lane and using his size and his vision to find people and to finish when he has those opportunities too. So we just need to keep grinding on that and understand that against the team, like Denver, they're one of the best teams in the league. They were the world champs, short time ago, and it takes 48 minutes to beat them, not just a half.